Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexalex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. Gonna throw in a quick one here. I'm actually recording this in like the very brief window of time I have this morning before work, because when I woke up this morning, I saw a pretty huge announcement. We have a new upcoming Forbidden and Limited List update, and this one is big. So we're not gonna waste any more time. Let's get right on into it. The expected date for the implementation will be May 31st, so just under 2 weeks to the end of the month here. We can also, as usual, expect this will probably be when the next selection pack releases as well. But here we have the changes, and right off the bat we have some very, very big ones here. Bonfire going from 2 to 1. Original Sinful Spoils Snake Eye going from 3 to 1. As far as cards to be semi-limited, again, some pretty huge hits here. We have Maiden of White going from 3 to 2. Branded Fusion going from 1 to 2. Sage with Eyes of Blue going from 3 to 2. And finally, cards for which the limit of the number of copies will be lifted. We have Sprite Blue going from 2 to 3. Sprite Jet going from 2 to 3. Nimble Beaver going from 1 to 3, and the Deer Servant going from 2 to 3. Can you tell I'm a little excited? So, let's start off right at the top here with the most impactful hits, which of course are going to be the limits, both of which are Snake Eye hits. Bonfire going from 2 to 1, and Original Sinful Spoils Snake Eye going from 3 to 1. Bonfire getting limited is a fairly minor consistency hit. I'm just laughing because I'm actually debating right now if I'm actually going to dismantle my second copy because it is royal. I guess I don't really know if there's going to be a chance that Bonfire will ever be at any number above 1. Honestly, it's close enough to Reinforcement of the Army, which has also been on the limited list for, I think, literally almost 20 years now, if not more. There's a pretty good shot this will never go above 1 again. It's a very, very powerful effect, right? To be able to search any level 4 or lower monster of any given type. Especially Pyro, given how good Snake Eye is. So Bonfire going to 1 will be a minor consistency hit. Original Sinful Spoil Snake Eye to 1 is also a consistency hit, particularly because the deck has actually been playing 3 copies a lot very recently, or at least more than 1. Original Sinful Spoil Snake Eye is not just a good starter, it's also an extender. And with the Millennium Engine and Fiendsmith Engine especially, it's really not that hard to have an extra body on the board. That's why a lot of builds have elected to run up to 3 copies lately. If you look at the Snake Eye builds that got top 10 in the latest Rating Duel Season 40, all of the Snake Eye builds are on 3 OSS. And I imagine that was a good, portion of the reason why they decided to limit it. I will say that limiting it also does make some... I mean, just think about like DD Crow, right? There's the potential where, especially against the Azamita builds, DD Crow actually becomes a really, really good tech against Snake Eye. I know I've been pretty down on DD Crow a lot in this meta. A lot of the reason for that is because I think Bystials are just better. They do everything DD Crow wants to do in this meta, but better, right? Which is banishing, Fiendsmith, Blue Eyes, cards, so on and so forth. But the big advantage that DD Crow has is being able to banish spell and trap cards, and now with OSS at 1, again, especially for playing against the Azamita build, banishing this out of the graveyard actually does matter. So it's more than just a consistency hit, it is also a slight engine hit. I will say Snake Eye functions absolutely fine with only 1 OSS as well as only 1 Bonfire, so these are not like major hits, but they are still good hits, I think, definitely. Bonfire, not only is this a Snake Eye hit, this to me is also just a future-proofing hit, trying to make sure that, future archetypes with Pyro cards aren't like too stupid consistent, like again when Rhoda was at more than 1 with Warriors, but... So yeah, 2 good limits here. I approve of both of these. For semi-limits, let's talk about Branded Fusion first, actually, because this is the only of these 3 cards that is getting increased in the number of copies. This is terrifying to me. Branded is not a bad deck. Branded, I think, for the entirety of its existence, at least within the last year and a half or so, has been an upper to middle level tier 2 deck. To get a second copy of Branded Fusion is a lot more than just a minor consistency buff. This makes the branded grind game a lot more sustainable. And branded is a deck that does often find itself getting into very grindy duels, right? I don't know if I would go so far as to call it a control deck, but it's kind of adjacent to one in a way. It's almost like combo control, like certain builds of Labyrinth can feel sometimes, but this is terrifying to me. Branded Fusion going to 2 is actually just very scary to me. I don't know. I'm trying to think if this will... So here's the thing, right? I actually, when it comes to like the average, you know, Master Duel, Ranked Ladder, Best of 1 game, the second Branded Fusion, aside from being a little more consistent, I don't know. It's like, it's scary. I don't think Brandon's suddenly going to be like a tier 1 deck. I'm not saying that, but Brandon is going to be a much scarier deck to face with having access to a second copy of Fusion. But I don't hate this semi-limit. I think this is a really cool experimental semi-limit. This is actually the kind of thing that I love to see ban lists do, right? Not only should a ban list address newer or just overall very powerful archetypes that may or may not be an issue, but either way are dominating a lot of the meta, I think ban lists should also lift up decks that have maybe been hit by the ban list but are now waning in power level relative to what everything else is doing. And Branded Fusion from 1 to 2 is not just an example of that kind of unlimit, but it's a very bold example. But I like that it's so bold. I like this semi-limit. And the more I talk about it and the more I think about it, the more I like this. Even though I'm not a Branded main, even though I'm terrified of playing against Branded, especially in a longer duel where they have access to 2 Branded Fusion, I think that's fine. I think that's more than fine. I think it's a really cool experimental semi-limit. We'll see how it goes. I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. And yeah, I'm actually in favor of experimenting like this. Going on to our other 2 hits here, both Maiden of White and Sage with Eyes of Blue going to 2. A couple of minor consistency hits to Primite Blue Eyes, which they seem to have hit a little bit more quickly than they do other meta decks. I've only just now seen this ban list. I haven't seen any reactions to it online, but I can already see the Reddit posts complaining like, the Snake Eye was around forever and they didn't touch it, but now they're hitting Blue Eyes. And it's like, well, okay. Snake Eye did get these sort of minor consistency hits fairly soon after they came out as well. But anyway, I'm so a little surprised to see these semi-limits here. Not just because Blue Eyes is new, but also because I think it's a deck that as the decks like newer decks like Malice and Ryziel come out, it's gonna get naturally power crept, not like immediately, and it won't be like tier, you know, Rogue once Malice and Ryziel come out. But I do think Primite Blue Eyes is it's kind of like Sword Soul, right? I don't think it needs heavy hits. I just think that, you know, again, time will naturally sort of begin to phase it out of being tier 1 and then tier 2 and so on and so forth. But I'm not opposed to these minor consistency hits for now, because for now, I will say Primite Blue Eyes is definitely just one of the best decks in Master Duel. I think it's the second best behind Snake Eye, in my opinion, but yeah, either way, these hits make sense. They're both, you know, very important engine pieces, and I don't think that the deck needs to get hit any more than this, so I'm in favor of these semi-limits, I think, overall. I think in the fairly near future, like, again, probably after both Malice and Ryziel are in the game, these could probably come back to 3 and it would be fine. Okay. Whew. All right, but before we talk about the stuff I'm really excited about, let's talk about Nadir Servant for a second. I don't have much to say, except I think it's hilarious how this card has been flip-flopping on the Master Duel ban list. I would be willing to bet that Nadir Servant is the card that has been most mentioned in these ban list updates, because I think Nadir Servant was at 1 when the game first started, then it went to 2, then it went to 3, then it went back to 2, now it's going back to 3 again, which I laugh at, but I gotta say, I gotta admit, I'm not opposed to that. I am completely fine, like I said before, with Konami getting a little experimental with this ban list, and if that means a card like Nadir Servant has to kind of flip-flop around in this position, you know, a lot, I'm fine with that, personally. Because again, I think the act of experimentation is what's most important. And like, believe me, if this were the TCG list, like Nadir Servant would still just be at 1. Like, let's be real. Nadir Servant would just be at 1, and then maybe in like a year and a half, they would consider putting it to 2. I'm very, very glad to be playing a format that is very proactive when it comes to, again, not just, you know, updating ban lists and doing it every month, but also actually unlimiting stuff that is no longer an issue. Okay, speaking of unlimiting stuff that's no longer an issue, I did not think this day would come. Okay, I was actually thinking about this recently, and I was thinking that it was decently likely that Blue and or Jet might go to 3 soon. I did not think Nimble Beaver would like ever go back to 3. I legitimately thought it'd be at least a year before we saw Nimble Beaver go to 3. But Blue, Jet, and Beaver all at 3. I mean, it makes sense. Think about like rating duel top 10s in particular. Think about like duelist cups. Think about even community tournaments. When is the last time you saw Sprite out here really succeeding, right? It's been a while. Every now and then there's like maybe 1 or 2 Tri-Brigade Sprite lists that are in the Duelist Cup top 100 at like 70th place. But it's been a hot meta since Sprite has had a huge impact on the meta, and this is huge. Blue and Jet to 3 are massive consistency buffs, and of course so is the Nimble Beaver to 3. Nimble Beaver to 3 is more than just a consistency buff though. It makes the Nimble engine no longer a liability to play, right? Like before, when Nimble Beaver was at 1, oh my god, that is so nice to say. Back when Nimble Beaver was at 1, oh, love it. Back when Nimble Beaver was at 1, or I guess which it still technically currently is, you know, running the Nimble engine was actually a liability because you had to play so many bricks. Like, yeah, the payoff was insane. And when Swap Frog went to 3, that became a little more easier to stomach because you had the ability to potentially open Swap Frog alongside your Nimble monsters that were bricks, and then you could send them and special and still get some use out of them, you know, etc., etc. But, yeah, because you had to play either Nimble Sunfish if you wanted a water monster for Swap Frog, or a Nimble Musabi, I think it's called, if you wanted a beast monster for the Tri-Brigade variants, or just to deal a little burn in general. And yeah, I mean, those are garnets, they're bricks. You don't want to be drawing those cards ever. Nimble Angler you might think is a brick as well, but Angler is actually something you don't mind opening because if it's discarded, which Sprite variants have a lot of ways to do, then you can get even more bodies on board. But now we have the Nimble Beavers, which means that we can just jam 3 Nimble Beavers alongside our Anglers, and like we're just so completely fine. Because even if you open Nimble Beaver, guess what? This is 1 card full Sprite combo by itself. The other cool thing is that with the Nimble engine in the past, I'd often play 1 Beaver, 1 Angler, and then 1 other Nimble monster to kind of, like, again, reduce the odds of drawing the bricks. And that's enough to, you know, sprint dump Angler, get 2 bodies. With Beaver at 3, though, you could potentially normal summon Nimble Beaver, grab a Nimble monster from deck, link into Sprint, dump Angler, and if you're still willing to play 1 more brick alongside the 3 Nimble Beavers, then you could dump a second Angler for still 2 more bodies, because if we go to related cards here, I'll show you Nimble Angler. This card is not once per turn, by the way. So not only do you have the option to play the Nimble engine with fewer bricks, if you still want to get a little greedy and play a brick and a second Angler, you can potentially like really maximize the number of bodies you're getting out of the Nimble engine now. An option that the deck also did have beforehand, but you would have to play like a full playset of something like Nimble Sunfish or Nimble, you know, Musabi, which is not ideal. So, I mean, y'all know how much I love this deck. Y'all know how much I've been talking about this. I am ecstatic. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Yeah, this is a fantastic ban list. Like, even setting aside my own personal bias, you know, with the Sprite stuff being unlimited, I think this is the exact kind of ban list that people like seeing, right? Or that people have been talking about wanting to see. A bigger ban list that addresses the top decks of the current format. And I don't always see people mentioning this, but what I, again, think is important to a ban list is also unhitting stuff that is no longer so much of an issue that it needs to stay limited. And I'm really, really glad to see the Master Duel team being very proactive with that. So I think that this is a banger of a list. But what do you think of it? Let me know in the comment section below. That's going to go ahead and do it for now. Normally I'd throw my outro up here, but I really am running low on time today. So I'm just going to thank all of our YouTube members and patrons right now. Thank you all so very much. And also thank you for watching till the end of the video. All these ways of support are very, very important, especially for a smaller YouTube channel like myself. But even if you are not clicking the join button below to sign up as a YouTube member or going to patreon.com/hexlex to check out the exclusive content over there, just know that watching all the way to the end is actually also, in addition to those methods, one of the best ways you can support the channel. So thank you very, very much. And of course, again, an extra special thank you to all of you who choose to support through YouTube memberships or Patreon. That extra support really, really does help, and is the reason why I'm able to upload as much content as I am. But I need to get this up, so I'm gonna get going. Thank you so very much for watching. This is Hexlex. I am signing out, and also hoping that you have a fantastic day.